Hey friends, today we are here with mugwort, and mugwort is often a plant that you'll find on most every street that I've been to in a city in Vermont, all the way down through the East Coast, out west, I say. You can find this really hardy plant that comes from the Mediterranean easily in most places that grow weeds, kind of like a dandelion. So looking down on the mugwort and then looking more closely, you can see the deeply lobed leaf, the purplish reddish stem. The leaves are arranged alternate, and at the top they sort of come out all together like a little rosette until they grow even taller. And the bottom of the leaf, of course, is silver and a bit fuzzy. The veins protrude through the bottom of the leaf, and it's attached to the stem with, the coloring will differ depending where you are, but the stem is relatively peach fuzzy as well. And it tends to form quite a stand if given the space. You can remember exactly why mugwort is named what it is in the Latin name. And the Latin name for this plant is Artemisia vulgaris. Artemisia named after the goddess Artemis, the goddess of the moon, who also was the huntress, but she's the goddess of the childbearing woman and the childbearing years and the forager. So she was seen as a huntress, but really what she was doing was gathering the herbs on the hillside to protect all of the people, the women, the plants, and the babies. And mugwort was one of her allies. And the reason that she is the goddess of the moon is because she rules the cycles of women's health. And we'll get to it in a bit, but mugwort is responsible for aiding with those cycles. And so we can see mugwort growing in many different places. It's just about to flower in this stand, and the flowers protrude from the tops of the leafing structure, not just the very top of the stem, but all of the stems that come out from the leafing structure. And the flowers then appear to be these little balls that are the buds, and that then come into these tiny white flowers that will self-seed and spread very far, which is a joy, and it also is something that you might want on the hillside instead of in the garden. So Artemisia is the first part of the Latin name, and vulgaris is the second part of the Latin name, meaning common. So vulgaris and vulgar are terms that have been bastardized over the years to suggest that something is out of place or abnormal, when really it just means common. So this is the common plant of the goddess Artemis. And she once was used as the main bittering agent besides the plant yarrow in brewing beer, when there were no rules about what we had to bitter our beers with, which comes later because Christianity then told us that we have to brew our beer with hops so that our beer has sedatives in it, so that we will then wake up for church in the morning. Because when mugwort and yarrow are used to bitter our beers, other things happen. Psychedelic experiences, opening experiences. So mugwort is rarely used for bittering beers these days, but if you look into Stephen Buhner's book, Sacred and Herbal Healing Beers, and in that book he does have quite a few recipes for using Artemisia vulgaris as the lovely bitter that it is, which would taste quite different than one of our favorite sleepy time sedatives, hops. So that's that. It also is an aid in bringing back the rhythm, and the rhythm for different female bodies are different. It's not always a 28-day cycle, but if one has an irregular cycle, using a tincture or a tea, which can, like we said, it's one of our best bitters, so the tea is quite bitter. So I love it in a tincture form with lots of water on the side. Then we can bring the cycle back, which is known in herbal terms as an emmenagogue. We want to be careful with emmenagogues in pregnancy and not use them because they bring the cycle back, and we want to avoid the cycle during that time. However, they're very helpful in childbirth because a bitter brings the energy down. And so this is actually helpful when I'm thinking about what's happening with teenagers right now and how we're entering into our social realm with texting, a lot of texting, and there's not a lot of vibration in our communication as there is when we talk and we laugh with our friends. So a lot of anxiety is induced in being online and communicating and not verbalizing. Mugwort and other bitters like dandelion and burdock do help our bodies to ground. All right, and we have this system in our body, this opening, this internal swallowing and excretion system, digestion system that also can process energy. And mugwort can help our bodies do both. It can help our bodies to digest food, prepare to digest food, and to digest emotion like anxiety, because anxiety's up here, right? Ah! And so we take a few drops of mugwort tincture, sit with it, and all of a sudden we can feel our feet on the earth, we can feel the bitter taste in our mouth, and we know that we have a role modeling in our body for what it can feel like, and we can bring ourselves out of that anxiety. Now, this isn't like a one-time thing, this has to be used as a practice. And another way that it can be used beautifully is at bedtime. So mugwort is often stuffed into dream pillows. It's said to bring on really incredible dreams, vivid dreams, telling dreams. And it also can be used in a smudge stick to cleanse and bring that same kind of intention to a room, a sacred space, or, you know, like a place where there's just been some kind of intense energy, like an argument or a fight or something like that. It can prepare and it can cleanse afterwards. So, yeah, the beauty of mugwort, it's absolutely one of my favorite plants. And I'm just so overjoyed that it is in such crazy abundance. Guaranteed, if you walk down an alley in a city near you and there's little weeds popping out of the bricks, one of them's probably mugwort. Flip the leaf over and see if it's silver on the bottom, and you'll probably have yourself the beginning of the question that you can then determine whether or not it is Artemisia vulgaris or mugwort. Oh, so the reason that it's called mugwort is because wort is the word for plant, and mug is what we put our beer in. It bittered the beer that we put in the mug, so therefore, mugwort. Thanks for joining me today. This is Angie, signing off.